Hello everyone, welcome to another session of Lucid Mains. Today, let us look at the topic of Collegium system of judicial appointments in India. This topic is very important for your GS2 preparations. Questions from this part are frequently asked, like the question regarding the National Judicial Appointments Committee in the 2017 mains exam. Okay, so today we will look at what the recent issues are, what the Collegium system is, what its problems are, and finally what needs to be done for its improvement. So let us begin by looking at some of the most recent issues. The latest of the controversies is regarding the elevation of two judges to the Supreme Court. Back in December, the Collegium decided to recommend Chief Justice of Rajasthan High Court Pradeep Nandrajog and Delhi High Court Chief Justice Rajendra Menon to the Supreme Court. But in January, the Collegium reviewed this decision and recommended the names of Karnataka High Court Chief Justice Dinesh Maheshwari and Delhi High Court Justice Sanjeev Khanna. Now, the reasons for this are unclear, but various legal luminaries have raised their objections in this sudden change by the Collegium. Another prominent controversy in recent times arose when the government asked the Supreme Court Collegium to reconsider its proposal in two different occasions in 2018. The first was regarding the appointment of Uttarakhand High Court Chief Justice K.M. Joseph to the Supreme Court. The other was regarding the appointment of Calcutta High Court Judge Justice Aniruddha Bose as Chief Justice of Delhi High Court. Some other controversies, like the one related to Gopal Subramaniam, the former Solicitor General of India, are given in the file attached with this video. Now, they are given just for your reference. They are not essential for your mains perspective. So, moving on, let us take a look at the constitutional provisions that deal with the appointment of judiciary. The most important one is Article 124(2), which says that every judge of the Supreme Court shall be appointed by the President by warrant under his hand and seal after consultation with such of the judges of the Supreme Court and of the High Courts in the states as the President may deem necessary for the purpose. Similar provisions can also be found under Article 217(2), which deals with appointments in High Courts. Now, the present system of Collegium evolved from these constitutional provisions. From time to time, the Supreme Court gave different interpretations of the word consultation mentioned under Article 124(2). From 1950 to 1973, the practice has been to appoint the senior-most judge of the Supreme Court as the Chief Justice of India. But this convention was violated in 1973 and again in 1977 when the government ignored the seniority of judges. Later on, in 1982, in the first judge's case, the court held that consultation does not mean concurrence and it only implies exchange of views. But in 1993, the second judge's case brought about several changes in the appointment procedure. Through the judgment, the court took away the discretionary power of the government regarding appointments. It changed the meaning of the word consultation to concurrence by ruling that the advice tendered by the Chief Justice is binding on the President. It also ruled that the Chief Justice would tender his advice on the matter after consulting with two of his senior-most colleagues. Later, in the three judges case, the court opined that consultation process requires a consultation of plurality of judges. It ruled that the Chief Justice should consult a collegium of 4 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court, and even if 2 judges give an adverse opinion, he should not send the recommendation to the government. Thus, the third judge's case established the present-day system of collegium. Later on, in 2014, the government tried to reform the process by introducing the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act and the National Judicial Appointment Commission Act. It was supposed to replace the collegium with a new body called the NJAC, or the National Judicial Appointments Commission, but the Supreme Court declared it unconstitutional and void on the grounds that it affects the independence of the judiciary. So, the earlier collegium system became operative again. This is now popularly known as the fourth judge's case. But while striking down the 99th Constitutional Amendment, the court unanimously proposed the need of a new Memorandum of Procedures, or MOP, a secretariat for the collegium, and a mechanism to address complaints against those considered for appointment. This way, The court indirectly admitted that the Collegium system needs reforms. So, now let us take a look at the present system's issues. The first and the foremost criticism is its undemocratic nature. India is arguably the only constitutional democracy in the world where the judiciary has the power to appoint itself. Also, the collegium system is not accountable to any authority. The executive has to formally confirm these appointments, but its role is marginal. If the executive have any objections, the collegium can simply override these by making the same recommendations again. So, there is little possibility of any interinstitutional check and balance on the judiciary. So, the system has also resulted in a continuous tussle between the judiciary and the executive. The next biggest concern is the lack of transparency in the system. Now, there are no written manuals or selection criteria for the collegium. Also, the collegium meetings are highly secretive and the records of the meeting are selectively published. So, even after 2 decades of its establishment, there are still doubts about how the collegium works or how it arrives at a decision. This lack of awareness also limits the scope of questioning the decisions of the collegium. Next is the accusation of nepotism. Many times, the collegium system has been accused of preferring advocates and judges who are the sons, daughters, relatives, or juniors of former judges and chief justices. Back in 2009, the Law Commission of India itself stated the same. In its 230th report, the Law Commission stated that nepotism and personal patronage is prevalent in the functioning of the collegium. Another concern regarding the collegium is the delays in appointments. Due to the lacks by collegium as well as the executive, several posts of judges in the various courts are lying vacant. Also, administrative tasks like appointments are a distraction to the judges of the collegium as it reduces their time they can spend towards their principal judicial work of hearing and deciding cases. Now, both these factors lead to pendency of cases and thus have a direct bearing on the judicial system of our country. The next concern is regarding the delay in finalizing the Memorandum of Procedure. Talks on finalizing it has been stuck for quite some time because of disagreements on its key provisions between the executive and the judiciary. Some of the other issues are regarding the operational structure of the collegium. Despite 20 years of existence, the collegium does not have a secretariat to manage its affairs. Also, it lacks its own intelligence bureau to make inquiry regarding the competence, character, and integrity of a proposed appointee. So, from these discussions, it is quite evident that reforms are indeed needed with the present collegium system. Now, such reformative measure must cover the spheres of judiciary as well as the executive. Now, the executive has a limited role here. However, the executive must take measures to avoid unnecessary delays and clear the names proposed by the collegium in a time-bound manner. It should also refrain from tinkering with the recommendations of the collegium and creating unnecessary controversies. Now, regarding the judiciary, back in 2017, the Supreme Court initiated some measures to improve transparency in its procedures. It began to upload the decisions of the collegium and the reasons behind them in matters such as elevation, confirmation, and transfer of judges. Now, such moves are highly appreciable as it helps dispel the criticism that surrounds judicial appointments. However, drastic reforms are still needed. In the short run, finalizing the Memorandum of Procedures is the best possible avenue left. A well-structured MOP with clear guidelines regarding the selection criteria and robust overview mechanism can bring about an acceptable level of transparency into the present system. For this, however, both the judiciary and the executive must shed their mutual suspicions and quickly formalize the MOP. Now, in the long run, restructuring the NJAC can offer an excellent opportunity. Safety measures that would make it constitutionally valid can be brought forth. These changes should also be such that the judiciary retains majority control in the decision-making process. But for all or any of these measures to be successful, the basic necessity is the will to act. This will has to come from within the judiciary as well as the elected representatives of our country.